There are many headlines about how housing affordability is declining. The headlines are correct. It's less affordable to purchase a home today than it was a year ago. However, it's important to give this trend context. Is it less expensive to buy a house today than it was in 2005? What about 1995? What happens if we go all the way back to 1985 or even 1975? Obviously, the price of a house has appreciated dramatically over the last 45 years. So, have the prices of milk, so has bread, and just about every other consumable. While prices rise over time, we know it is called inflation. However, when we look at housing, prices is just one component that makes up the monthly cost of the home. Another key factor is the mortgage rate at the time of purchase. So if we look back at the cost of a home over the last 5 decades and adjust it for inflation by converting that cost to 2021 dollars, here's the methodology for each data point. First, the mortgage amount. We take the median sales price at the end of the second quarter of each year, as reported by the Fed, and assume that the buyer made a 10% down payment. Then you look at the mortgage rate. So we look at the monthly 30-year fixed rate for June for that year, as reported by Freddie Mac. Then we look at P&I. Right? We use a mortgage calculator to determine the monthly principal and interest on the loan. And 2021 dollar-wise, we use an inflation calculator to determine what each payment would be when adjusted for inflation. Now, when reviewing these numbers, when adjusted for inflation, there are only 2 times in the last 45 years that it was less expensive to own a home than it is today. Now, last year, prices saw strong appreciation over last year and mortgage rates have remained relatively flat. Therefore, affordability weakened. In 2010, home values plummeted after the housing crash 15 years ago. 1/3 of all sales were distressed properties, which were foreclosures or short sales. They sold at major discounts and negatively impacted the value of surrounding homes. Now, of course, homes were more affordable then. At every point, even in 1975, it was more expensive to buy a home than it is today. The bottom line, if you want to buy a home, don't let the headlines about affordability discourage you. You can't get the deal your friend got last year, but you will get a better deal than your parents did 20 years ago and your grandparents did 40 years ago. So if you're thinking about buying in this market, it's a good time to buy because it's still affordable more than it was in the past.